Hey everyone, it's Ty. We were thrilled to get this launch week exclusive interview with Matt Leone, formerly of EGM and Polygon, and now proprietor of Design Room, a brand new games website and newsletter dedicated to reported histories of classic, beloved, and/or interesting old games. Starting with Shadow of the Colossus, Matt, his team, and site contributors will be putting out regular features sure to catch the fancy of anyone who loves what we do. So check out designroom.site and consider subscribing. And in the meantime, enjoy this free excerpt of our wide-ranging interview with Matt. Our own FunFactor Ultra Review Crew subscribers will hear the entirety of, and consider upgrading. We've got lots more coming this week at FunFactor, so keep your eyes and ears peeled to our socials and community Discord, all of which are available at funfactorpod.com. Okay, on with the show.
There was good stuff back then. There was interesting stuff that didn't fit into bubble or into boxes. That was maybe dismissed. I think of God Hand a lot in this interview, like as we do this interview. Like, God Hand was a game that got like raked across the coals in reviews, but it also has this like big cult following of people who love it. And you know, every once in a while you'd find a contemporary reviewer who'd be like, "Oh no, this game's actually awesome," and then every other review would be like 2.5 or 3 out of 10 or whatever. And so, you know, having that perspective of how to look at old games and be like, hey, this is a gem, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the with God Hand specifically, that was the IGN review is kind of the notorious one there, and I feel like a lot of the love for it since then has almost been like a reaction to that. Like in some ways, I think people like it genuinely on its own too, and that's great. But like I think partially it's like they want to like prove that review wrong and like show
Right.
how like, oh, we know better.
Yeah.
And because we live in context, right, there's going to be another generation of kids who grew up going, you all told me God Hand was awesome. This sucks. You know?
It's like Ace Ventura trying to get a kid to watch Ace Ventura now. And we're like, no, this is actually good, guys. This is really good. And they're like, this is not good.
Yeah, it's when you talk about stuff holding up, it's like, would Ace Ventura hold up culturally? Whereas with games, it's more like, you know, the technology and the collision detection and stuff like that. So.
I mean, I would say film is going backwards as we're moving
100%.
away from practical
100%.
effects. We're moving towards like just filming against blue screens or those digital screens with Unreal Engine like backgrounds and stuff. Like, so even you know, that whole perspective of like, does it hold up? Like Jurassic Park looks better than any of the sequels, including Rebirth.
Right, but the thing is also, Aidan, every C+ rom-com from 1994 looks great in a way that most movies don't.
Yeah, well, yeah, you don't even have to go into the heavy right? Yeah, no, that's interesting. But Matt, one of like the big reason that we wanted to have you on a show is that you have launched a new site called Design Room. Which I'm really excited about. And as soon as you announced it, I was all over it. It's right up our alley in terms of the way that you talk about, you know, video games and history and people, and specifically like the people who make games. And that's what oral histories are so good at, is learning about who they are, who the people behind the games are. You have put out some pretty popular oral histories in the past. You know, I've enjoyed your work, like I said, on EGM or writing features for 1UP and Polygon. You're the features editor for a long time. But like the real juice, the stuff that like gets me up in the morning, are the oral histories for games like Street Fighter, or like one of my like very favorite pieces of video game history ever, which is like your 17,000 word behemoth oral history of Final Fantasy VII. I know you edited a oral history of Panzer Dragoon Saga, which I really love as well. And now, like, post-Polygon, you're leaning into this. You're leaning into these oral histories with this new project, Design Room, which is a website. What can you tell us about Design Room and why you're so excited to make this the new home for your work?
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was very, very kind. I've definitely kind of moved more in that direction. Like if you look at my career, I guess I started kind of doing a little bit of everything, and then I kind of moved more into previews for a while, and then I did features for a while, and then kind of towards the end it was more oral histories and some features and stuff. But I like the kind of context they bring. They kind of force you to have that context, even if like if you're writing a feature, you may be busy, or you may not have time, or you maybe be like, oh, well, I can just interview like 1 or 2 people for this and just kind of like fill in the gaps with like, known industry context and things like that. And that can work in, various ways. But I like that, if you're going to do the oral history, at least in this structure where you have, kind of quote after quote of people just kind of telling the story on their own, it forces you to go out and get, people to talk who wouldn't normally talk. And so I really like that and what it kind of brings to storytelling and, preservation and everything else. So I like that. And I wanted to do more of that. Like, I think that's one of those things, like, obviously there were some layoffs at Polygon a while back. I was part of that. This wasn't my first choice. I probably would still be there if that hadn't happened, but I like the idea of doing this. The last couple of years I was at Polygon, I had done some more stuff on like the sponsorship side and like the packages side and stuff like that, like, some of that I really enjoyed, but some of it was a bit less interesting creatively. So like, I think my idea here with starting a new site was like, I was like, okay, I just want to do exactly what I want to do, and hopefully people like it. But yeah, it's very much just kind of like everything I enjoy in terms of tracking down people who haven't talked about stuff in a while and getting, interesting stories out of them and kind of putting that all together in these big packages that, I think hopefully people like.
I suspect they're going to like them, Matt. If they're anything like the two of us, I think they're going to like them.
Well, now, you just said they're going to, so you're breaking your own wall because you pretended that the site had already launched earlier in this conversation.
Well, there's going to be more than the ones available at launch. More will be coming, presumably.
Yeah, no, it's 7 p.m. the night before I'm launching right now, and I have this like list in the back of my head of like, okay, here are the 6 more things I have to finish before I actually set this thing live tomorrow.
Matt, I can't say enough again how much we appreciate your time, because we certainly up to our launching ourselves, we're just biting our nails trying to think of everything and do everything all at once. So it means a ton to us. You specifically cite NoClip and A Profound Waste of Time as aspirational goals for Design Room. What do those productions do for history and preservation?
Yeah, I think I mean, when I mentioned that, it's more just kind of the idea of creating something that has a kind of really clear focus and, doesn't have a lot of the excess that you get from a lot of game sites. Like most game sites are more kind of general interest. They do a little bit of everything. They have news and reviews and previews and everything else. And the idea with this was just to be like super focused on one thing and do that thing really well. So like, Design Room isn't going to have stories every day or sometimes even every week. Like it's going to take its time and try to get things that are really good, but sometimes those take time and it's hard to turn stuff around super quickly. So yeah, the idea with that is just to kind of like create that brand or reputation that people like, and hopefully they're willing to kind of pay for and stick around with and come back for, but not necessarily to try to do like as much as possible. Just because I don't think I would be that good at that, especially with one person. I think there's other people who are better suited at that. Whereas I think my strengths come more with stuff that I can do like this, where it takes more time to plan out and kind of put together in a bigger way.